Hey band, choir, and orchestra directors, it's Jill. This week, let's talk about training your students to assess themselves. This is a critical skill for any musician to have, obviously, and some students are going to be great at it right away, and some students are going to need a lot more help learning how to do it. So if your students are either very young or inexperienced with self-assessment, here are my top 3 tips on getting them started. These tips are all applicable for large ensemble instruction, small group lessons, or individual instruction. And in the beginning, you might find it easier for students to assess recording rather than their own live playing, but that's another step you can take. So here's tip number 1. Keep it short. In the beginning, don't ask students to evaluate a full concert or even a full song on their own because it'll be overwhelming and they'll forget what they heard in the beginning. Just ask them to evaluate a short 2 or 4 measure even excerpt that they've played because that will allow their brain to kind of comprehend the whole thing at one time. Number 2 is to be specific. Ask them for feedback on the rhythm or the phrasing or some other musical concept as a singular item. Don't ask them just, how did you think that was? Because they'll say good or bad and they won't give you specific feedback, and you want them to be specific, so ask a specific question. And finally, be consistent. Constantly ask them questions on how they think things are going, because eventually you asking those questions will become the voice of assessment in their own brain. Likely you probably had, as a young musician, a teacher who asked a lot of questions and guided you through this assessment, and without knowing it, it became part of your own music practice. So by consistently asking for specific feedback on short excerpts, the students are going to start to develop the skill, and then you can build on top of that. And eventually you will have self-assessing machines. That means less work for you as the teacher. That's it for today's short tip, and make sure you give us a like and a follow because next week we're going to be talking about assessing yourself not as a musician, but as an educator. Catch you next time.